And welcome to this latest edition of On the Hash with Hatfield, our weekly high school football podcast as we talk about everything in the world of football with you here on the show. It comes your way each and every Thursday from the folks with Hometown Sports Productions at the Plex. We got a jam-packed show for you. We're going to talk some high school football playoff action because the playoffs are finally here. Round one games beginning this evening on a Thursday. A bunch of them, most of them on Friday night, but we have a bunch around the 757 and the 804 and other parts of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we'll see who will be advancing on and marching on to the semifinal round. You've got, pretty much every region of the 24 regions in VHSL football in the state has just about 8. There's a couple regions that have 6 teams. We'll actually go through my picks in the last segment of the show. We've got a special guest with us. He's the head football coach at Bayside High in Virginia Beach, Jon White, as the Marlins get ready to take on Indian River tonight in Chesapeake, a game I'll be at in the first round of the playoffs before I venture out of state for an ODU basketball college hoops assignment. Pinch hitting for Tim Alexander on the mic, who's got football with the Monarchs team up at Liberty in Lynchburg. I'll be on the road alongside Dennis Wolf on the call on the radio side of things for the ODU men taking on Ball State on Saturday, and also on the road at Arkansas for a matchup against Eric Musselman's Razorbacks on Monday night. But we've got a lot of high school football to talk about with you. Not a whole lot to recap from last week, although we do want to acknowledge our latest Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. And we hate to give it out to a player from the same team 2 weeks in a row, but when you do what this young man did for his team in need of trying to get a victory to try to get the number 2 seed in Region 5A, it's hard to ignore it. And we're talking about the young man who got the honor, Josh Walton. Do apologize to Josh real quickly here. As it says on the graphic, he's a junior. He's actually a senior. He's not a junior, folks. He's a senior. He's the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. You see it, 28 attempts for 245 yards, 2 rushing scores, 49-7 win over Kelham. And what's most incredible about that for Josh, it's the most rushing yards in a game for a Cox player since Andre Boone back in 2003. Was Walton even born then? Don't think he was. I think it's the 9th most, if I remember right from what Doug Ripley sent us in school history in a single game. Lamont Steele, you got to go way back to the early 90s against Kelham, ironically enough, as he just had a monster performance for the Cox Falcons. So kudos to Josh. Last week it was freshman running back Tyree Jeffries in their narrow escape against Kempsville, who ran for 300-plus yards on them. They're going to take on Kempsville in the first round, so they get a rematch with the Chiefs, so the Chiefs get a rematch trying to avenge that loss to Cox coming up tonight. But Josh Walton, a senior who had more yards in his final regular season game on senior night than he did in the previous 9 contests combined, is the latest Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. So he'll get an honor coming up and a plaque his way from our friend at Virginia Trophy, Bruce Pearl, as well as Chicho's Pizza recognizing him. So job well done. There's 4 matchups in Region 5A on this particular Thursday night. You've got Josh Walton and the Cox Falcons taking on the Kempsville Chiefs, as I mentioned, Bayside Indian River. You also got in addition to that, you have Greener on the top seed playing host to Deep Creek, as well as number 4 seed Tallwood hosting number 5 seed Salem. Really fascinated by that ball game because it was 46-42 last time. Salem won that. Now their starting quarterback then was Jason Scooter Williams. He's now on the shelf hurt. We'll see if Tallwood has enough defensive gumption, if you will, to slow down the Sun Devils, who have gone to the running game with Zachary Rogers here lately, to try to knock it down and get the victory and move on to the second round for the second consecutive year, which would be the second straight year Mark Hall and the Sun Devils likely would see Brandon Williams and the Green Run Stallions. Coach Hall once played at Green Run as a linebacker before going to UVA, and that's unless Andre Twan and the Hornets have other ideas. So that will be fascinating to see. We'll hear quickly from Chicho's Pizza and come right back and then give you a couple more thoughts on the first-round playoff matchups. But we'll hear from Chicho's Pizza right now, and we've got Jon White around the corner, head football coach of the Bayside Marlins. It is On the Hash with Hatfield. And we're back here with On the Hash with Hatfield here on our Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, beachsportsplex.com. You can also find us on Facebook, 757 Sports Talk on Twitter, or X as they call it now. And we're also streaming on virginiapreps.com on the front page. It's part of the rivals.com network of sites powered by Yahoo Sports. All right, we've got a question of the day for all of you out there in internet land. What lower seed, a 6, 7, or 8, I'm not going to count the 4 or 5 games, which are traditionally viewed as toss-ups, is most likely to produce an upset of a 1, 2, or 3 getting knocked off here in the first round of the high school football playoffs? As I go through some of these matchups we have for the first round, looking at Class 6 at the top of the bracket, you've got Highland Springs out of Richmond taking on Cosby. You have Western Branch, who won the region championship a year ago as a 7 seed against Thomas Dale. Hard to imagine an upset being there. I looked down in the other regions outside of Tidewater. But the fascinating matchup, though, in Region 6A is Oscar Smith Glen Allen, where you've got Perry Jones, head coach at Glen Allen. We've teased this for a couple of weeks now, doing a wonderful job. Was a member of that state championship team playing for Rich Morgan in 2008 with Philip Sims in the backfield. Of course, Philip Sims now the coach at Princess Anne. Perry Jones and the Jaguars hosting his alma mater, which has his godson at quarterback in freshman Lonnie Andrews III. That's a game where I'm really torn on who's going to win it. Brandon Nesbitt had a great rushing performance to close out the regular season against Western Branch. You've got Ike Huffman back there. Oscar Smith does have a lot of young pups stepping up on offense, but this Glen Allen team has been really good defensively. They have risen to the challenge. I don't think they're going to be afraid. This feels like a 20-19, 21-20, real toss-up down the wire type of game. Winner likely going to get Highland Springs there. Manchester Thomas Dale played a doozy of a game in the second round a year ago. I don't see a big upset in Region 6B, although last year it was Colonial Forge as a 7 seed, knocking off the 2 seed in Battlefield, who was unbeaten. Patriot just played Battlefield to a close game. They're rivals. It feels like it could be a game that could go in the way of Patriot perhaps this time. I look in Region 6D, lower seed. Give me Westfield. They had South Lakes on the ropes last week. They're taking on 9-1 Washington Liberty, who was losing to a winless Wakefield team. That's the most likely upset I see in Class 6 in the top of the bracket as I look at some of the first round projections and the picks for all of you out there here. Looking at the Class 5 picture. And in Class 6C, I think it's going to be a lot of chalk, by the way. I don't see much in terms of upsets. The Patriot Battlefield one is certainly one to keep an eye out for. But in Class 5, I think it's going to be pretty chalky, although you have to watch out for live 6 and 7 seeds here with Bayside and with Kempsville. I don't think Kempsville's afraid of Cox. They knew they had him right through the last time they played. Cox looked marvelous last week with their triple option running game. Marlins have to win the turnover battle to have a chance against Indian River with their great defense. We'll talk about that coming up with Jon White in our show. And then Region 5B, Maury, I mean, they've been putting up 70-plus week after week after week. They've got an All-American on their team again with Fred Johnson, who's a South Carolina commit. Nansman River, Granby, interesting matchup. I wonder about the psyche for Granby. They've had a wonderful year. Nansman's got a dual threat quarterback, and now Kendrick Overton, who does a lot. We're looking forward to a potential second-round matchup of Warwick Kings Fork, although Bethel and Menchville have other ideas. Region 5C, keep an eye on the William Fleming Patrick Henry Roanoke matchup because my VirginiaPreps.com correspondent out there, Robert Anderson, was at that first meeting, and Fleming had a fourth-quarter lead there. I'll take PH Roanoke close. Hermitage beating Freeman's not a big upset. Bird, Matoka. Matoka's got a lot of talent. They had that loss to War Hill, close loss here recently in the Central District in Dinwiddie. They can win that region. We'll go through that coming up here as we move it along. Region 5D, Massaponax, Light Ridge, winner gets Stonebridge. Stonebridge is the 1 seed at 6-4. How about that? They've been in so many state championship games under Mickey Thompson, and they're starting to find their stride here after the tough schedule out of the gate. That opening loss to Madison, which was a heartbreaker. Independence Riverbend, I guess you call it an upset because Independence just beat Briar Woods last week. Have a lot of talent on that team, and they want another crack at Briar Woods again, or I should say Briar Woods might want to crack at Independence for some revenge, if you will. Class 4, Phoebus named the score. It's pretty much where they are with that opening round game. Hampton Smithfield, like the Crabbers a lot, although Kaios Watford might not be playing in uniform for the Crabbers at the quarterback spot. We'll keep an eye on that. Calvin Church has been hurt. We'll see if they can get it together again. Churchland and War Hill look like they're on a collision course for the second round. Region 4B is a really intriguing region to me because you have 3 teams that I think could win the state championship in that region with defending champ Dinwiddie, undefeated King George with those great receivers in Mackay White and Chance Wiggins, and Verona, who's played a doozy of a schedule. And we talked about Damari Carter before after that Indian River game. He's one of the best sophomores in all of Virginia. really dazzling player. And we saw come off the bench. We talked about it last week with Gary Hess here on the podcast. Caleb Weish coming for Linwood Johnson at quarterback. So if you have multiple quarterback options, it helps you perhaps if an injury or someone's not performing up to snuff here. 4C, I don't really see a big upset. I think Tuscarora and John Champ are probably going to play each other again, although Broad Run pushed John Champ to the limit a couple weeks ago. Champ has recovered well from that early season loss they had, been on a hot streak here, and Tuscarora has maybe the best offensive lineman in all of Class 4 with Florida commit Fletcher Westfall. As for 4D, Salem is the favorite there with 2 All-Americans themselves, and Peyton Lewis, the running back who is committed to Tennessee, the linebacker in Chris Cole, who is headed to Georgia, the defending 2-time national champion Dogs, and Kirby Smart. Millbrook Hanley played a tough game last time. Coach Jung and I disagree on that pick. You'll have to see it on our VirginiaPreps.com VIP board later this afternoon. EC Glass has been in the state semifinals before. They're no newbie on the scene despite having a new head coach this year in Jamar Lovelace, and Jefferson Forest Danville. That's got upset potential. I'm calling for the upset there and going with GW Danville. Going out on a limb because Jefferson Forest has had a great year unexpectedly, but I like the way Danville's scoring here and playing really well offensively as of late. Booker T. Hopewell's the game tonight. I think Hopewell's going to get a little healthier. I think they're going to be on a nice little run here under Ricky Irby. Tough matchup with Booker T, but I think they'll prevail. Grafton Heritage is a toss-up game, like the Heritage passing game with Derek Gurley to Sterling Anderson. Lake Taylor has to be on upset alert against Colonial Heights. They are no pushover anymore. Lafayette Lake Taylor would be a great second-round matchup potentially next week on a Thursday at Warner because of War Hill probably playing on a Friday. TJ of Richmond is the top seed, and we've rated them way too low all year on VirginiaPreps.com. That's my fault. They have a chance to prove me wrong if they get to the region final, like I think they will, and see either Kettle Run or Brentsville District. Brentsville District got down early and then just steamrolled Kettle Run from there. Kettle Run played in the Class 4 state championship a season ago. I'm going to go with Brentsville in that region, though. We'll tell you more about the state championship picks coming up in our last segment of the show. Region 3C, it's Liberty Christian over Flavanna, I think, pretty easily. Rustburg Allegheny is a toss-up game. Spotswood won a real tough overtime game last week with Turner Ashby. Do they see each other again in the second round? I say not so fast, my friend, because I'm going to go out on a limb with Brad Bradley and the Pioneers, who made the state championship game last year to pull off a first-round upset there. Region 3D, Magna Vista has been great all year long. I like what they're doing with Joe Favero. He's got weapons galore offensively. Wonder about the defense in a big spot. Christiansburg, without their quarterback, Tanner Evans, they beat Abingdon pretty easily the first time. Might be a tougher matchup this time. Lord Botetourt should move on to the second round, but William Byrd could stand in their way, and they beat them once this year by a shutout. So I like the Terriers to probably find their way to the finals of that region against Magna Vista. As for Region 2A, Poquoson playing Nandua tonight. Missing a lineman is Poquoson. Missing a running back is Nandua, but Baker Green and the Islanders should be too much in that one along with Mason McGavern. King William against Bruton. I like King William. Greensville, Amelia. Probably give the nod to Amelia. We want to give our thoughts and prayers and best wishes to Will Thomas of Central Lunenburg, who had a very scary health situation this past weekend. Here he's out of the hospital and hopefully doing better. So we send you all the best, Coach Thomas. Like Lunenburg to get to the second round and probably the region final against Poquoson. 2B, Stewart's Draft is no easy 8 seed for Central Woodstock, but behind the defensive player of the year and the Bull Run, Nathan Lopez, give me Woodstock to find their way to the finals. Strasburg has had a good year. Clark County Buckingham's a real hard game to pick, but I'm going to lean with Casey Childs and the Eagles in that one as an upset special. And Riverheads has never beaten Madison County. That should change here in 2023. I don't know that Riverheads will repeat as a state champ moving up from Class 1 to Class 2, though. Radford is viewed as the favorite right now in Class 2. They're one of the last remaining unbeatens in the state. I like what they're doing with Landon Clark, the Elon commit at quarterback. Glenver, Appomattox, Gretna, all dangerous. Not sure they have enough defensive personnel to stop Radford when it's all said and done. And in 2D, Union, the Bears have been just rolling. Good balance on offense, throwing it and running it. Nice line of scrimmage play once again for Travis Turner and company. But all said and done, I think you're looking at Graham and Union, and I'm going to go with Graham, the G-Men, to exact revenge for that loss they had earlier in the regular season behind Ty Tress Clements, one of the best running backs in the state, regardless of classification. He was the Class 2 State Player of the Year a season ago. And Class 1, I like Essex a lot there to take care of business in their region. I look at Northumberland as a team that could cause some havoc. They have skill players. Remember, they had Cam Selden last year. Tennessee Volunteers wide receiver now. But Essex, despite all the roster turnover, Todd Jones's team, they're well-schooled, they're disciplined, they're fundamentally sound. Sussex Central could certainly get them in a rematch. They lost the season opener. They got to get out of their region, which I think they will. William Campbell has some offense. Alta Vista has some offensive punch. Those teams could be dangerous. Brunswick has had just 2 close losses this year, so they're no easy team to deal with. They should take care of Buffalo Gap. Might be a trickier first-round game than some anticipate, though. 1 seed, there's 4 teams I think that can make to the state finals. Grayson County, Galax, who lost convincingly last week to Grayson County, and George Wythe, who made the state finals last year, beat Grayson County pretty soundly a couple weeks ago in Narrows with Collier Pruitt, one of the best versatile athletes around. Any one of those 4 teams can take it. Lean with George Wythe at the moment, but that is an up-for-grabs region. And Honaker, that's a dangerous 1-8 matchup like that Fleming PH Roanoke game because they had to rally in the 4th quarter to beat Rural Retreat. We got a recap on VirginiaPreps.com from our Southwest correspondent in Rodney Young, but I like what Peyton Music, Aiden Lowe, Parker Bandy, that offense can do, and I'll take them to outlast Rye Cove in the region final. So that's my picks for the regions. We'll give you the picks for the state championships a little bit later on. Quickly give you a little private school rundown as you got the Division I matchups. St. Christopher's at Benedictine in the top matchup there on Saturday. You also have a Saturday matchup with Flint Hill and Trinity. I feel like you're looking at a Trinity-Benedictine rematch, which we talked about last week with Gary Hess. Those two going to probably square off again for the Division I crown. Division II crown, Nance with Suffolk Academy, by virtue of their high-scoring shootout win they had last week with Isaiah Furman, one of the best receivers around, helping lead the way for Mike Bills' Saints. They got their work cut out with North Cross. I saw them live. They're going to be hard to beat. I feel like 2 7-5-7 teams are going to be playing an uphill battle here with Blue Ridge and with North Cross likely to square off when the finals do go on. But I do like the young talent that Wayne Lance has with his son, Micah Lance, at quarterback, and what they showed last week in their very easy victory over Portsmouth Christian. Okay, coming up, we've got Jon White, head football coach of the Marlins, to discuss his team and what they've got coming up in their matchup tonight with Indian River. But we're going to take a time out and hear from some of the great sponsors that make this podcast possible for all of you out there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. And we've got Coach White coming up after the break right here. We're streaming everywhere, all over the world. VirginiaPreps.com, 757 Sports Talk on Twitter and X, on IG, Facebook, everywhere. Stay tuned. We've got more to come in just a bit.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Every year, thousands of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down.
They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter, that electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
They will take on the number 6 seed Indian River Braves, as it'll be a matchup coming up on Thursday night, November the 9th, 7 o'clock kickoff in Chesapeake. It's a rematch of a game played 2 years ago in the postseason. We say hello to Coach Jon White out there. Coach, good to have you on the podcast. And the first thing out of the gates, the coaches that have come on this episode of the podcast before their game have not lost this year. So it's a lot of pressure for you to live up to in your squad to go advance to the second round. How you been?
Been good. At least have an opportunity to keep the streak going. So I think that's something that we can execute on Thursday. Looking forward to it.
Sure. Now, looking at your team this year, you got off to a really good start. You won your first 2 games, Salem out of Virginia Beach, which was viewed as one of the games to watch out for to begin the season. I think it was 27-21, if memory serves me right. We've got the ticker coming across the screen with your season results here right now, in fact, as we speak. Then you beat Tallwood the next week, 2-0. Hit a little bit of a rocky patch, but you patched it back together with the last couple of wins over Ocean Lakes and Princess Anne. Sort of assess how the year has gone for your group and what you feel you can do well potentially in this first-round playoff game against Indian River.
Well, I think that we found some traction in regards to who we are, offense, defense, and special teams. We've had our ups and downs in regards to our self-inflicted, errors and mistakes and everything like that. But I think it's something that, with this group being so young in such pivotal spots, I think this group has learned to grow through it. And I think a lot of them, they simply get what they expect. They don't worry too much about what the opponent does. It's simply what they do, and they've been responding well to their pluses and their minuses. So it's a really good group that I think, can actually do some big things this Thursday and proceed forward.
As you look at your team right now, you do have a lot of young faces. I know you graduated a good chunk of some guys, especially defensive side of the ball. But offensively, one of the young men who's really stepped up for you, Cam Kirby, sophomore quarterback. I know he had a really good game to begin the year against Salem. Had a really strong finish against Princess Anne. What are the things that you like about him just being a 10th grader in his first year as a varsity starting quarterback, as you've had some bright moments with him at times?
Cam is a natural passer. He's a very good natural athlete. He's one of those kids that when he first came in, he was quote unquote undersized. But he put some weight on, put some natural size on, just going from his freshman year to his sophomore year. And then he also grew cognitively in regards to, just his holistic concept of the game. Any simple quick throw or wide open throw he can make, but as far as deducing laterally and vertically, he can do that well. Also, he can make some things happen with his feet. When he does well, we do well. Simply put, if he makes an error, he's accountable for it immediately. And just at this level, for him to be a sophomore to do the things he's doing is pretty big. I think he's easily a Division I guy, a Power 5 guy. I think, based on what I've seen before, and of course academically where he sits as well. So he's going to do some really big things. If he's given time, he can do some real big things.
It's interesting. I was just speaking with a coach a couple weeks ago up in Lunenburg, Central Lunenburg. Will Thomas, his team had an 8-2 season. They lost their final game. They get a bye week before the playoffs, and I think you're in this case 2 years running now, where a lot of times in the beach schedule you have it for 2 years running. What's your feeling on having the bye week before the postseason? It can be an advantage for you. You can rest up some guys, heal up the injuries, that type of thing. There's also the rust factor. We see it talked about with the baseball playoffs with these teams that won 100-plus games. They had a time off. They get knocked out. It's a little different with high school kids in football. Football is a much more demanding, physical, grueling sport. Where do you sit on the pros and cons of it, and how have you approached it any differently than perhaps last year or previous postseasons for you?
Well, I think when you have a bye week, the only thing you're missing for real is the competitive game piece. You still have your practices, and that's where I think a lot of people step into formulating things their own way. You can go to a practice and kind of country club it up like you in the pros and kind of like walk on through it, or you can have your normal practices, keep it somewhat competitive. You can do some new installs. You can refine some things that you weren't doing, reassess or, positively reinforce some things that weren't going your way and fix them then. So that's the things that we've done. We kept the competitive edge. We weren't banging like crazy and hurting each other. But we did have to make sure that we refined where we were. The things that we do well, we get them better. The things that we need to, tinker with and mess with, we took care of those as well. So that's our approach with the bye week. Now, no matter what hand we're dealt, we're gonna just take it as a blessing and treat it that way. These last 2 years we have the last, the week 10 bye. We treat it as is. Around this time, guys get the sniffles and congestion and allergies and stuff like that. So it helps to have a day here and a day there to kind of get back to where they need and get some quality sleep, so to speak. Not just rest, but just quality sleep, which is pretty good too.
Yeah, considering just a couple of years ago, we were also dealing with not just the coughs and the sniffles, we had the whole COVID element, and that was that spring season, which was, a lot of dicey times and trying moments for everybody in the world, not just with athletics and sports and football here. You've been at Bayside now. This is your 11th year. We'll get back to the playoffs and your matchup coming up and some other key contributors that have helped you to this point, and you'll be counting on this week and hopefully beyond. But you're at Bayside, former linebackers we showed in our cover there with the All Beach, and you played at Hampton University. You were part of Coach Darnell Moore's staff that won the region championship back in 2010. For the audience, what makes Bayside a special place for you? I know it's your alma mater, but you've been there quite a while, and you are now, I joke with Robert Jackson and John Keppel, Jackson of Lansdowne, who you played for at Bayside, and Keppel, who we had on a few weeks ago. You are the longest tenured or second longest tenured guy, I think it is, at his specific school. So you're one of the old heads in a lot of ways, which wasn't the case. It felt like just a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think there was a picture. I think that Smoke was a senior, really getting ready to play somebody at home. I know Smoke had on a red jersey, and my goatee was all dark. It didn't have a gray in it, and of course I was still bald, but I didn't have a this was I didn't have all the gray. So yeah, I mean, it's a privilege to be in one spot for a while. I mean, you take care of what you care about. I love my spot because I played here and did well, and I know how much the program and how much Bayside as a whole, how much football Coach Jackson as a whole and his staff back then, how much they helped me grow as a person. And I think that's what makes it a special place for me, because I think that we can do the same thing for the guys that we have that come through our program and come through the halls of Bayside. They simply put, the X's and O's matter. Winning matters, but you as a person matter more than all those things. One thing I tell parents and tell coaches to emphasize to the players and emphasize to the players as well is playing football here. You get a ring, a trophy, the whole nine. That's not going to be the highlight of your life. Playing football at Bayside High School is not going to be the highlight of your life. We don't ever want it to be that. We want you to simply have tools to matriculate as a functioning adult once you leave. When you go to college, we want you to deal with the adversity that you have to deal with to get your degree and all your relationships and all your corporate America issues, so on and so forth. I think that we can always instill those tools in our student athletes. And I think we can do it through football. So that's why I think it's such a special place. And I think that our staff is in place the right way to instill those things in these guys.
And well, you've helped nurture and develop a lot of players on the next level. You were with Darnell Moore as an assistant coach, then became the head coach, elevated in 2013. And a list of guys, you mentioned Smoke, Taquan Mizell, for the audience who doesn't know, went on to play at the University of Virginia, played in the NFL, still playing pro ball. You've had guys like Henry Coley, you had Quinn Blanding, Demetrius Nicholson, Anthony Cooper. List of players goes on and on and on. And speaking of Coley, you've got a young man who's related to him on your football team now, do you not?
Yeah, Octavian Young. Last week or week before last, he was WTKR Student Athlete of the Week. Octavian's been doing very well this year. Scored a touchdown versus Starwood. Had a couple picks this year. Has been coming down very, very well for the run game. Run support plays our weak side safety. Octavian's been doing fantastic. And on top of all that stuff, more importantly, he's the vice president of the National Honor Society. So this is this is a dude that he has like one up on Henry in that one in regard to that academic piece. Henry, of course, was stellar academically, but Octavian is he's amazing. He is amazing. When he does well, everyone else rallies behind him because he's just such a good dude, man. And he's phenomenal to have with us. His, and that's it kind of goes back to the previous question and it goes full circle. We play PA. It was our senior night, guys do well, so on and so forth. And here comes Henry with his two sons and his wife, Jessica, and it was just great to stand there on the field with them because, they live in Fayetteville now. So it's just great to see him and hug him and his children and his wife and just see all of them. And just things like that matter so much. And I know we get caught up in the winning piece all the time, but to see someone like him that did well at all levels to come on back and to just show that he's good. There are no stressors with this, and life is just he's good. Like that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen that's really put me at ease when seeing some of our alumni come through. And that's a blessing to see some of these dudes come through that way.
That is so awesome and really neat. And Henry will probably hear this later and say, yeah, he might want to have one up on me, but I can still whoop his tail and tackle him in the open field right now at his age. I'm sure he feels that way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Big time.
You also have a young man, and it makes me feel old when I see these guys that are related. You have Martrez Chavius Finner. We remember his relatives, and Isaiah Finner, Chandler Finner, who played in the Beach District, and he's a key cog for you. Tell us more about him and some others that have contributed that you're counting on this week and beyond.
Well, Martrez, along with Octavian, the two of them are up top at safety. And Martrez has that same football IQ like his uncle Chandler. And of course, Isaiah, who played at Cox. And of course, his dad, Juice, played at Lil Maurice, played at Bayside along with me. Very, very good football IQ, good guy in space, pretty good receiver that can make some things happen for us. And he's a signal caller for us on defense. Martrez is kind of like the second middle linebacker on the defense because he makes so many calls for us. In addition to that, you have Halim Hartnett at one corner and Breon Hartnett, Halim's brother, at the other corner. Two very, very fast guys. So the four of those DBs, along with who we have in the front seven, Amir Lyde, Isaiah Merritt, and of course Ralph Parker the third at Mike. That group has grown so much. 5-5 isn't really indicative of what they are talent-wise. It's one of those kind of misleading articles of data where you won't really find out until you step on the field. So it's a good group led by Martrez and led by Octavian, and these guys put it together very well. Very, very sharp group.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Coach, because you do go 5-5, but you were just a few plays away from possibly being 5-1, 6-0 when you played Green Run and you were tied with them at halftime, driving on them in the third quarter. Give me a sense of what you've learned about this group through some of the adversity as you gear up for this matchup with Indian River, and kind of what are the message points to your team as you take on a team that's got a lot of good pieces?
Well, it's going to sound like something off of like Kung Fu Panda or something, man. But for real, you can't really worry about what was and what will be. You take care of what's right in front of you right now. If you keep on looking at your rear, you forget what's in front of you. And if you keep staring too far ahead, you won't see what's in front of you. So you got to take care of your tasks as they present themselves. So we have a task tomorrow to have a good practice and sharpen up our stuff and then get ready for traveling over to Indian River and take care of things over there. Simple as that.
Last two for you and let you run, and I appreciate your time here on the Hash with Hatfield with Bayside head football coach Jon White. When you look at them on film, what are the things that jump out at you and can concern you, but it certainly grabs your attention of you got to do this well in order to have a chance to beat them?
Well, they have a couple of game breaks. Played against Rayvon Moore last year when he played at Salem. The Hinton kid, the running back, he's a blazing fast kid. He did well against us 2 years ago when he was a sophomore. Things have changed what they're doing strategically and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we know we have to neutralize those things as well as we need to isolate the Jordan kid, number 9 at DN for them. There's certain war daddies that they have and certain leaders that they have, on that offense and on that defense. That I think if we can neutralize those things and play our brand of football, simply like I always tell you when we speak, simply be the DJ, not the dancer. We dictate what we do and kind of influence and dictate their mistakes and what they do. If we can do it that way, we can be on top and, carry it through beyond round 1 or round 2. So.
I like it. You got Kung Fu Panda in there and DJ, not the dancer. Lastly, before we let you run here, Coach, I know we were at the region championship 2010, so Bayside fans would love to have an opportunity to do that again. For this group that has a lot of underclassmen, 10th grade quarterback, what would it mean to get a playoff win as you build? And then you would, if you were to get that win, you take on a Cox or Kempsville. Who knows what would transpire? But how big is this moment for those young kids in terms of, continue this thing to build here as you want to finish up on a good note?
Well, it just simply proves to them that they can get it done. I think nowadays people get so caught up in looking in other people's windows and seeing what they've done, whether it's any facet of social media. They get so caught up in what everyone else is doing and not noticing what their own, what their own progress is. And our guys will put a whole lot of daggone work in, and it's almost simple to, cut themselves short or even quit on themselves instead of just, pushing through and finishing the job. So I think if we take care of business on Thursday, I think it'll give us a shot in the arm to go pretty far.
Well, looking forward to it. Should be a fun one over there at James L. Fry Stadium on Thursday night with the Bayside Marlins, the number 6 seed, traveling to take on the 3rd seeded Indian River Braves. Winner there gets the winner of Kempsville Cox. Other side of the bracket featuring the likes of top seeded Green Run hosting Deep Creek and 4th seeded Tallwood hosting 5th seeded Salem. They played a doozy of a game, 46-42 in their first meeting, just like Kempsville and Cox, but a 1-point thriller in their meetings just a couple weeks ago. Well, Coach, thank you so much. All the best. And I'll be sure to make sure that Coach Young does not pick you because he's the ultimate jinx. That's why I kept you away from coming on with me and him because you would have definitely taken an L with that.
Tell him to stick with Southeastern District. Just tell him choose the other river, and we'll do the rest. Ed's my guy, but I need him to do the rest on his end.
Okay, well, that's good. He's getting ready for basketball season right now. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and all the best. We'll see you on Thursday night.
Yes, sir. Take care.
That's Coach Jon White of the Bayside Marlins with us here on The Hash with Hatfield. We'll take a timeout, put the finishing touches in this episode after we hear from some of our sponsors at the Plex.
Man, I wish I was out there. Let's unretire. Why not? Randy Moss.
What? Dan Marino? You alright? Hey, Grandpa! Grandpa? I still got it.
22. 22.
Number 13. Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the case. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
The Hash with Hatfield, our weekly high school football podcast with you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex as we take you around the world of high school football throughout the state of Virginia and especially in the Hampton Roads area where we've got picks that'll be going up on our VIP board later this afternoon on VirginiaPreps.com for each of the first-round playoff games across the entire state of Virginia. Yes, the entire state of Virginia. We got you covered there. I want to thank again Jon White for coming on the show, Bayside head football coach, and he'll see if he can keep that undefeated streak going, although that Indian River team is tough with Jordan Harris coming off the edge and those guys defensively. As far as the picks go, with yours truly and the coach Ed Young, give a couple of 757 games of note. We didn't have many disagreements, I will tell you that, without giving away all the fun. But he did pick Indian River 20-14 and put upset alert on his picks. We both had the Tigers over Glen Allen close. As far as other 757 games of note, Region 5A, we disagree on Tallwood Salem. See who he's got, see who I've got in that one. As far as Region 5B, the same four teams, chalk, very chalky, all the higher seeds there. Did not pick an upset in 5C, did he? No, he didn't. He did disagree with me on one of the games in 5D. 4A, we got the same four teams prevailing in those matchups, so no real stunner there. 4B, looks like he agreed with me again. He's just a copycat, but he does try to get me in these playoff picks, and sometimes he has success in them. But let's go to the share screen portion of this episode now and go through my picks as far as the state champions go for high school football and the 6 classifications. We'll see if I can nail these correctly, and we'll watch and find out if I get all 6 right. Does anybody get a prize? No, we're actually trying to effort next year. I was trying to get this into motion. Some type of prize with our friends at Rivals, like a team shop card for like a free contest where people can pick the winners for all 6 classifications in every round of the playoffs. And the person with the most points, like you do like a bracket challenge for college basketball. So now that I'm putting this out there over the airwaves, I'm sure someone will steal my idea and put it into effect and make it lucrative, which we're not trying to make it lucrative. It's just something for fun. That's all it is. It's not about a money-making deal. It's just something for fun for folks. That's more the main premise of it. But we do like to have more eyeballs come to VirginiaPreps.com and obviously to our YouTube channel and the podcast. So as always, like, share, subscribe. You want to get involved, you can certainly join our team as we're doing it not just weekly here for football, but we're doing podcasts all year round. Of course, 757 Saturday Sports Talk with yours truly and the coach Ed Young comes your way on Saturdays. We'll be doing it by remote this week. And, of course, we'll have some other podcasts in the works for you with other sports as we move past the fall season here coming up. But let's do the share screen now and go through my 6 state champions, as I've babbled enough and have wasted enough time in regards to all of that, and give you who I've got winning the state championships for all 6 classifications. I think I have settled on it now, and we're going to go up here to Class 6 and start it out. For Class 6 Region A, I've got Highland Springs as the last team standing there. In Class 6 Region B, Freedom of Woodbridge looks like the last team that'll be standing there. I can take myself off the screen here, I think, if I do this properly. Oh, there we go. Well, no, I can't quite take myself off the screen. We'll do it this way. Class 6 Region C, Lake South County to come out of there. 6D, I think Madison's going to play Westfield in the final. You're going to cross bracket now, remember, for Class 6, so you'll get a 6A versus 6C. Highland Springs SoCo in my bracket, Freedom versus Madison in that bracket. That's a rematch of last year's state championship, but in the state semifinal round, give me Freedom over Highland Springs ever so closely. I can change my mind on this in Class 6. Move to Class 5. Green Run, I think, is the last team standing, probably beating Indian River in the final. Would not rule out Cox, though. Very, very pesky, very live team. I like what Tyler Newey is doing there and his coaching staff with Brian Graham calling the defense. They got Gerard Johnson on the line, knocking the heads off. They've got Josh Walton stepping up in a running game. Our Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week to go with Tyree Jeffries in the backfield. They're going to be formidable and legitimate and a problem for folks. I think if they get through and get to Thanksgiving weekend. So I don't know this will be a breeze by for Green Run. And I'm not sure it's going to be a breeze by for Maury, although who is stopping them? Now, Warwick has a defense that's given up just 10 points the entire year, which is insanely good. And I do mean insanely good. But they haven't played that offense yet. I think Warwick Kings Fork will be a great second-round matchup, should we get it as I expect. But I like the Commodores to play Green Run in the state semis. It'll be at Powhatan Field this time as opposed to Green Run High School or Virginia Beach. Hard to go against the Commodores with that defense to go with the offense. They've got 5 straight shutouts to go with this offense. It's humming behind Autori Newkirk at quarterback. Offensive line, by the way, so unheralded. Josh Bowe, one of the best centers around. They have so many guys. It takes – looking forward to hopefully catching up with Doreen McCain here on the podcast soon to highlight his guys. But I know they're on a mission, a very locked-in mission to win the championship. Did have their kicker get hurt last week, and Andrew McClung could factor in if it's a close game, but I'm not sure they're going to play a close game. 5C, I don't know if the 1 seed's the last team standing there in Patrick Henry Roanoke. If they were healthy, I'd say yes, but I'm going to go with Matoaka to be the last team standing out of that region. 5D, give me Stonebridge. Hard to go against Mickey Thompson. I think they're going to run the ball very well, tackle, and do all the things that you need necessary to be there. And I'm going to go with a Maury Stonebridge State Championship. It's the rubber match. Maury won at Hampton U. Stonebridge won at ODU. Now it's at UVA in Charlottesville. Give me the Commodores to take home the title. As far as Class 4, and you see some of the Class 4 matchups coming across our ticker, give me Phoebus. I don't see any way that Phoebus does not win the state championship. The region championship. Region championship in 4A. I almost misspoke there. War Hill's very good. The injury to Jaden McAdoo worries me with the collarbone. They do have Liam Francis. They've had a wonderful year under Jerome Rhodes. I think they'll get by Churchland, although they have the top rusher in the area right now in Hampton Roads and Dontavius Booker. Very good offensive line, and Churchland beat War Hill last year. So that's not as big of a stunner or upset if 8-3 Churchland was a knockoff 11-0 War Hill. But I'll go Phoebus over War Hill in that region final. Too much defense behind the PD Defensive Player of the Year in Maryland committed Anthony Reddick, we had on the show last week, along with Davion Roberts. 4B, this is the hard region. I'm telling you, I keep going back and forth on a King George Dinwiddie second-round matchup. So watch what happens. Either Hanover or Easternview is going to get there and mess up that potential dream rematch of last year's epic playoff game. Verron is sitting there saying we can win this region, and they can. I'm going to go with, for the time being right now, and I'll probably change my mind 6 times between now and next week, I'm going to go with Dinwiddie to take down King George behind Harry Dalton. Do worry about the Generals' defense, and I'm going to go with Dinwiddie to play Phoebus in the state semis. And sorry, Phantoms fans, I just worry about Phoebus' offense a little bit in that spot against the Region B champ. If they get behind, if they don't get behind, Phoebus is going to be in great shape. But I'm going to go with Dinwiddie out on a limb here. 4C, I'm taking Tuscarora over Champ in that final. 4D, I'm going to go with Salem to beat EC Glass, a rematch of last year, because I have Jefferson Forest getting knocked off early by GW Danville. That's how my bracket is looking right now as we project things ahead here in the playoffs. As we've gone through Class 4, I think we're now going to Class 3 as far as some of the matchups go. And the state finals. So I didn't finish state finals. We got Salem over Tuscarora in the state semis there. I'm going to go Salem over Dinwiddie in the state championship. There you have it. Class 3, let's go through them now as the ticker's out. Class 2, Hopewell, Booker T. Washington. Not an easy game necessarily for Hopewell, but I got them winning. I think they'll probably play Lafayette in the region final, although Hank Sawyer's Titans have never lost to Andy Lynn's Rams of Lafayette, and Lafayette will have to have a better offensive showing than they had last week to close out the regular season against Pocosin, where they had to rally to beat the Bull Islanders. Give me Hopewell to win that region. Region B, Kettle Run Brentsville could be another classic semifinal matchup and a lot closer than their regular season finale. I've got Brentsville taking it behind Langston White, Defensive Player of the Year. William Merritt committed linebacker. They got that offense working with Nico Orlando and company. I like what Coach White's team is doing there. I'm going to take Princeville over TJ Richmond in the final. Give me Liberty Christian over Spotswood in the Region 3C final. Give me Magna Vista over William Byrd in the Region 3D championship. And I've got Magna Vista falling to Liberty Christian in the state semis, which will be probably a state championship level matchup in the semis. Brentsville knocking out Hopewell in a bit of a surprise to some. And I will take Liberty Christian to win the title over Brentsville in Class 3. Class 2, Pocosin. King William should be a great second-round game. I'm going to surprise people and go with King William. I got King William beating Bruton, by the way. Central Lunenburg to get by Amelia to avenge that lost regular season that they had. And give me King William to beat Lunenburg. That's my surprise there. Although Pocosin could get there. I just don't know how healthy they're going to be. Baker Green's having a wonderful year. He could put them on their back. I think King Williams put such a tough schedule. It's going to be another close game, 14-7, 20-14 type of game. Region 2B, I got Central Woodstock and Riverheads playing in the final. They played first week of the season, and I'm going to say Riverheads gets revenge this time behind the UVA offered running back and state player of the year in Class 1 a season ago in Caden Cook Cash. So give me Riverheads, and Riverheads takes down King William in the state semis as Riverheads gets back to the state finals. Who do they play? Probably either Radford, Union, or Graham. I've got Radford getting by Appomattox, then getting by Glenver in a region final, and in Region 2D, I'm going to go Graham over Union And I was picking Graham earlier in the week, but I've changed my mind back over to Radford. So I'm going to take Radford now over Graham in the state semis. I think that's probably your state finals, to be perfectly honest with you. Nothing against the A and B teams. And I will go with Graham over Riverheads in a matchup of last year's state champs in Class 2, Class 1 for the state championship in Class 2. And in Class 1, to finish it up, I got Essex over Northumberland in the final in Region 1A. 1B, I love Sussex Central, what they're doing. I think they get by Alta Vista or Brunswick. Probably going to go Alta Vista for the time being. I'm waffling on that game a little bit. And then I will go in 1C. That is such a coin flip region. My gracious. 1, 5, 3, and 2 can win it. Sorry, Bath County, you've had a great year at 4, but I don't think you can win that region. I will go with Grayson to get to the region final and fall to George Wythe again. If Narrows had Carson Krieger to go with my man Collier Pruitt, I'd probably pick Narrows. I'd give him 2 dynamic wide receiver weapons. And I'm going to go with, I'll go with Wythe over Grayson. 1D, Honaker has to be on upset alert for sure in this first matchup, but I'm going to go with Honaker over Rye Cove in that Region 1D final to win the championship there. And that's what we're looking at for Class 1. So I'm going to go with the state championship of Honaker past George Wythe, Honaker over Essex in the state final in Class 1. So there you have it. That's going to conclude this episode of the podcast as we stop the screen sharing and move it along here. And this should be a lot of fun here coming up with the high school football playoff starting tonight. Games again on Friday. Private school action on Saturday. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. And we'll have our 757 Saturday Sports Talk probably a little earlier than usual because I'll be on remote making a travel. And we'll be at playoff games all over the state with VirginiaPreps.com. Make sure you like all the content up there and subscribe to the site for all your premium recaps and our picks and everything when it comes to high school football updates. We give you scoreboard updates thanks to our man Pete's up there. And we'll talk to you next time from the Plex as it'll be recapping round 1 and looking ahead to round 2. And we'll do it again. Enjoy your sports weekend as we get closer and closer to Turkey Day and Region Championship right here from the Plex and Hometown Sports Productions. Take care, everyone.